Welcome to Vampires and Mermaids. I'm Erin.
I'm Risha.
And what are we talking about today, Risha?
Vampires and mermaids.
Thanks so much. Oh my goodness.
Yee. Okay, so I will be talking about, I don't know if it's Java or Java, Java.
Like the coffee?
I don't know. How do you say that?
Java.
Java? Oh, like Java chip.
Yeah.
Java chunk.
Yeah.
Like Java chunk ice cream.
Yeah, because it's
I don't know.
coffee.
Maybe it is.
Call it whatever you'd like to call it.
Okay, let's say that, Java. It's an Indonesian island. Sorry, I have like milk throat right now.
It's gross. From your ice cream and shamrock shake.
That's
I feel like I need to.
Thanks for the clarification. I feel like I'm bringing some chaotic energy.
I
right
like
now.
it. I'm here for it.
Well, I even have a Dr. Seuss pen.
I did see that.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah, it looks like it's got a third something.
Oh.
Anyways, so Java, an Indonesian island. We're going to talk about the Sundel Bolong, which I'm not sure if I said that right either. But there are a couple of different translations that it can go by or like be translated into. The first one that I read was hollowed bitch.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other one is prostitute hole.
Wow.
That's the vampire we're talking about today.
The prostitute hole?
And or hollowed bitch.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll make sense.
Okay.
I do want to give like a little bit of a trigger warning here. It talks about suicide, R-word, death of babies. So that's some of what we're talking about today. But then also we're going to talk a little bit about colonization. This hollowed bitch is a woman who would return from the grave as a result of suicide following R-word and impregnation. The victims of this Sundel Bolong, so we'll just say that instead, or I could say prostitute hole. Either one. I might just try Sundel Bolong because I'm probably saying it wrong. So if somebody knows how to say it, they can be yelling at me.
There you go. A good opportunity.
Victims of this vampire are young men, and she lures them to death by draining their blood. Not by draining their blood. She drains their blood after she lures them. She wears a flowing white gown, and she has long black hair. And there's a Malaysian and Indonesian mythology that this is connected to, which is a Pontianak. Again, I don't know if I said that right, but it's a creature that attacks babies and sucks their blood.
Ew.
And that translates into prostitute with a hole in her. And it's a large hole. Making faces.
Yes.
It's it's a large hole that appears in her back and is concealed by that long black hair. And the idea is that when she died, the baby that she had like continued to grow and then like clawed its way out of her back.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the whole like prostitute hole. Like she's a woman who had a child, not married, or like became pregnant, not married, and then now has a hole in her back because the child like its way out of there.
Wow.
Yeah. But if she's trying to lure a man and he rejects her, she will then castrate him.
Okay.
Which is very unhealthy. Or she might just take children and just keep them for herself. Modern folklore studies believe that the myth was developed as a Javan culture piece of their culture to deter prostitution that was being developed because of colonization. And this area was colonized by the Dutch East India trade company. That whole place was being colonized by them and a lot of the Dutch between 1605 and 1825. And so I was kind of like, all right, what did these people look like when they were colonizing this Indonesian area here? What were they doing, and how were they doing it differently? Because I feel like, tend to get a lot of the States side of States and, British, UK, but what were the Dutch doing was kind of what I wanted to know, and how did that affect that area at the time, especially in regards to prostitution, because that's where this vampire lore comes from. When the Dutch East Indies went and colonized, they were known for being more likely to intermarry with people who lived in the area. They were more likely to be just about the trading and less about you're going to like change into my religion and stuff like that.
Sure, they're more resource focused.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not to say that there weren't problematic things that happened.
Oh, of course.
But when they came into Java, they ended up having more organized forms of the sex industry expand. So like the traditional slavery and concubinage that was there, those systems were adapted into having more of these Dutch people come in. The issues that came up were because there were larger numbers of single men. They provided an outlet and a demand for families with saleable daughters. Also, women themselves, though, wanting material benefits. So they started to do like prostitution and concubines. And that shifted, though, too, because there's some legal thing to do with concubines that was happening at the time.
Okay.
But they didn't like the idea of people who weren't citizens being able to like buy into that.
Gotcha.
So that caused a lot of like legal issues, and there were like dangers of the unregulated interracial liaisons that were happening because marriage was discouraged or forbidden in certain areas of the time between the Dutch and the indigenous people of the area. And then also, if a child was produced from that, usually they were outcast. Have you seen the movie Australia?
No.
Okay, there's a little boy in that who is the kid of one of the like maid people that's in the household of the British guy that was there, and you find out later like he's the dad of this kid, and that caused a whole bunch of trouble because now this kid doesn't have a dad, but he's not completely accepted by either side, and
right.
So that kind of thing that was definitely happening, and so that I think feeds into that lore of the woman is pregnant with a child, but she herself will have issues because she doesn't get the benefits from the government if she has a kid out of wedlock.
Gotcha.
At the time, they were very much like, if you're, they used a word and I'm not remembering it, but if you pretty much have like sex out of wedlock, or you have like kids and stuff, and or if that's your lifestyle, you're not going to get government benefits, and you're going to end up actually having things barred from you more. So that would lead to a lot of the idea that this woman would like commit suicide because she didn't have a future, and even her kid wouldn't have a future, and like all of that stuff. The government even passed laws forbidding a person from inviting a virtuous woman into fornication.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
that was a law. Like, how could you...
That's a lot of categorizing things that can't be categorized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, how could you prove one way or the other?
Right.
And I don't know what their judicial system looked like, but that was some of the laws that were going on. In 1650, they had a house of corrections for women it was established to reform prostitutes. And so that was another thing that kind of tends to this vampire being created as a reaction to that expanding and growing and becoming kind of an issue in the area. Yeah.
Wow. All leads back to weird social lessons they're trying to be taught.
Yeah.
I don't have social life lessons.
Oh, no?
In mine.
No?
Not really. I'm going to take us to a very different era, because I'm going to be talking about the movie Splash.
Oh, good.
Yes,
Yeah.
from 1984. So the main four people in this movie, it's obviously a bigger cast, but the main four actors in this, the lead female, who is our mermaid, is Daryl Hannah. I didn't know her from anything else, but she was in a handful of other 80s movies.
Oh.
And then Tom Hanks.
Of course.
Very young Tom
Yes.
Hanks. John Caddy. I knew him as the coach in Cool Runnings.
Oh, I didn't see that.
He also is in a couple of National Lampoons. I can't remember who he plays in that. And then Eugene Levy is also in it. So he is the dad in Schitt's Creek. I think he's also the dad in American Pie.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and he looks young, but he still kind of has the eyebrows.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
He plays such a good dad character.
He really does. And he had a totally different character in this, which was interesting. So the movie starts out, it's like 30 years in the past or whatever. And keep in mind, this is in the 80s, so it's really in like the 50s. Where it's a young boy falls off of a boat while he's on a family vacation in Cape Cod, and he starts to drown because he doesn't know how to swim, and a young girl under the water saves him and kind of helps him live and kind of pushes him back up above the water line so he can be rescued. And he's sure it's a mermaid, but he's a really young boy, and he's kind of confused. So then it flashes forward to present time, 1984, and that young boy is Tom Hanks. I'm going to strictly refer to everybody by their actor names, by the way.
That's fair.
That's just who they are in my head.
I don't remember this movie very well. I saw it when I was little, but the actor names will probably help me actually remember.
Good, because he's young Tom Hanks. That's just who he's going to be. So it flashes forward to him as an adult and his brother, who's John Caddy, who... I know you said you're not familiar with him, but he's like a very kind of bigger guy, kind of gruff, and he basically plays like the screw up brother. Like he's just kind of the idiot who like drinks too much. They run the family produce business. It's kind of like, I think they distribute produce to grocery stores basically. Tom Hanks is doing his best. He's putting the work in. He's being a good businessman. John Caddy like starts losing at poker, doesn't have enough cash, and is like, hey, I'll buy your shitty cherries. Yeah, so he's like I said, just kind of the adorable screw up. He's also kind of pervy though. Specifically, there's the scene at a wedding that they go to pretty early on, Tom Hanks and John Caddy. And Tom Hanks, right away, his girlfriend calls and is mad at something and breaks up with him. Like this is how opening scene in the movie, damn near. And then him and his brother have to go to this wedding, and everyone's asking Tom Hanks, "Is Victoria coming? Where's Victoria?" And he's just like,
goodness.
"She's sick. She's busy. Fine, she left me. Okay," and just kind of loses it. And meanwhile, John Caddy is like dropping handfuls of change so he can like bend down to look under women's skirts.
No.
Yeah, so he's kind of just being a perv. And like I said, Tom Hanks has this blow up at this wedding. They get drunk together. Tom Hanks gets way drunker than John Caddy, because keep in mind, John Caddy's a big guy, and he's even saying that. He's like, listen, big bro, it's all about body mass times alcohol consumed. And, Tom Hanks like has his whole face in a plate of nachos. And he decides right then there, I'm going to Cape Cod because I like it there and I need to feel better about myself. So he drunkenly gets in a taxi and goes off to Cape Cod. I guess I could have added at the beginning of this. I'm just going to tell the whole movie, basically. So if you want to go watch it before I spoil it for you, you can. It's not a particularly complicated plot, and it was from 84, so that was literally 40 years ago. So I'm sorry, I guess, if I'm spoiling anything. Suck it. So anyway, Tom Hanks goes to Cape Cod, and he runs into these three kind of dopey scientists, the lead which is Eugene Levy. So the dad from Schitt's Creek. And he is like very concerned of who Tom Hanks is. Like, what are you doing here? Who sent you? And of course, Tom Hanks is in this wedding suit. And so he's like, who goes to the beach with no boat and a suit? You must be from the government. And you're trying to steal. Yeah, pretty much you're trying to steal my research. And Tom Hanks is just like, what the fuck? Like, hey, by the way, I actually need to get to that side. Like that island over there. Can I use your boat? And they're like, no, we don't have a boat. And the boat's like right next to them. There's a funny scene where Tom Hanks hires a guy to take him in this boat. It's this tiny, tiny little skiff of a boat, and it ends up dying. And Tom Hanks is saying how he can't swim. And the guy's like, it's fine, I'll go get the little boat. We'll just take that. Jumps off the boat, leaves Tom Hanks, and takes off swimming. The boat tips. Tom Hanks starts to drown, and this beautiful mermaid shows up and saves him. And so it flashes forward because he's down and out. He wakes up on the beach, is very confused where he is, how he got there, and he's looking around, and there's this gorgeous woman kind of hiding in the bushes, and he's like, hey, did you save me? Do you know where I am? Do you know what happened? And she's not saying anything back. And all of a sudden she stands up, is completely ass naked, and just takes off running for the water and jumps in. And he's like, no, come back. Why don't I know how to swim? So that was kind of odd. He goes back to New York. His weekend's up. but he had dropped his wallet in the water. She finds
no.
it. And we find out in this time, too, that the scientist is looking for mermaids specifically because he sees her after all of this because he jumps in, goes scuba diving, and she's swimming around, and he freaks out. And that's the mermaid, I saw her, but he didn't have time to get his picture. But in the meantime, she finds Tom Hanks' wallet. And this is where I start getting confused. Because somehow this woman, who we later learn doesn't know English, can read his wallet and perfectly...
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yes. And can perfectly navigate herself to New York, specifically the Statue of Liberty. And she shows up to the Statue of Liberty ass naked in human form. Not a lick of clothes on her, and just walks up to the Statue of Liberty while some guy's giving a tour and everyone's freaking out and take a picture with me and oh my God. And there's this whole scene.
Welcome to the 80s.
Yep. They show her ass a lot. Now she has like a perfect butt. However, it was like, oh, okay. Hi, Daryl Hannah.
Jeez.
Wow. So the cops come. They pick her up. She can't say anything. Like, she hasn't said a word. They're like, yeah, she must not speak English. We don't know. But she gives them the wallet and is pointing to Tom Hanks. And they're like, okay, great. I guess we'll get you to this guy.
Okay, wait. Okay, license in there. His license.
Yes.
Was New York.
Yes.
Does New York have the Statue of Liberty on their license?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that was
maybe
it.
she saw Statue of Liberty. Oh, I've seen that.
Maybe. That could be too. That's a good point. It does come up later, though, that she can still perfectly navigate herself around New York City and can read. Yeah, but that is an excellent point. Let's go with that. I like that more. So the cops come up. They get her like a long New York T-shirt. Why would they give her pants? And they drop her off with Tom Hanks, basically. And she pretty much sees him and just wants to fuck him. Like, she is like kissing his neck and his face, and she can't talk. And he's just like, this is the best day of my life, but also what the fuck is happening? He tries to be very honorable and basically like takes her to his apartment, but like sets her up in front of a TV with some snacks and is like, listen, I gotta go to work. When I get back, we'll figure it out.
Aw.
She's
like George of the Jungle, but reverse.
I have not seen that one either.
That's right.
Well, she, long story short, ends up seeing a commercial on the TV for Bloomingdale's, gets a taxi to Bloomingdale's. People see how beautiful she is. I don't really know. She somehow gets a bunch of clothes. Yay, we have clothes now, I guess. She wore one of Tom Hanks' suits there, so, which was iconic, honestly. It looked great.
I know you haven't seen it, but it is kind of George in the Jungle in reverse.
Oh, weird.
It's really weird.
Okay, I'm intrigued. We're going to have to watch this next now. He finds her after she's spent 6 hours in a TV store just aggressively watching TV. And he got off work, freaks out, finds her in Bloomingdale's, and then is trying to get her out of this TV store because they're trying to close. And this is the part where I'm like, okay, now you can argue there's some amazing fish intelligence. But because she has watched TV for an afternoon, she can now speak perfect English and understand all English.
Magical mermaid brain.
I'm going to just have to go with that because all of a sudden we're fluent.
You know, the ocean hears so many languages.
But she literally couldn't say a single word. She went from not being able to say a single word at all to being able to completely speak. At this point, I was just happy because I'm like, maybe we'll get some personality other than just that she's horny and naked.
Yeah.
And they do have some cute moments. Honestly, as far as the romance goes, it's a cute movie for an 80s movie for me. I love 80s movies. I do. I've also just had to accept that a large amount of iconic 80s movies, I'm talking to you, Indiana Jones, are very much the guy saves the day, the girl has minor personality, he comes in and saves her, they make out, everyone's happy. I'm not saying that's right, but I've come to terms with, as far as 80 movies go, that's just kind of how they've ended up being. Thank God it changed. It falls in line with that. Mm-hmm. I was just happy that at least she can talk now, and they have some like cute bonding moments. So we flash back over to our dopey scientists on the water who are trying to prove mermaids are around. And one of the dopey assistants is reading a newspaper. And Eugene Levy's like, oh my gosh, get your head out of the newspaper. How dare you? And he grabs the newspaper. And on the cover is a naked woman at the Statue of Liberty. And he recognizes her. He's like, that's the mermaid. So he decides, I'm going to go track her down in New York. I'm going to prove, this is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to prove that there are mermaids. Meanwhile, she's being real cagey. Yeah.
After seeing her with legs, though, like, how are you going to prove she's a mermaid?
He somehow This man just knew. And they don't get into this at all. I don't know. Maybe he did a bunch of research before this. He just knew that, yes, when mermaids are dry, they have legs. And when they are wet, they have tails.
Oh, okay.
Which was correct for this. But somehow he just knew that.
Maybe there's lore he read.
Yeah. You know, it's just totally possible. And we do see that at one point she sneaks off into the bathroom at Tom Hanks' place and takes a bath, and her tail like flops out when she gets wet. Very H2O vibes. And he's freaking out because he hears her like flop out of the tub and thinks she's hurt. And so Tom Hanks is like, oh my God, are you okay? And like, I'm going to break the door down. She's like hurriedly like drying herself off. And by the time he breaks the door open, she's like, what? It's fine. So she's being real cagey. And it's like, by the way, I can only stay here for 6 days. I have to be back home by the time the moon is full.
Why?
And he's like, why? Exactly. And she won't tell him jack shit. She's not telling him that she's a mermaid. But she's saying that she's basically in love with him, but she's not telling him what she really is. Very unhealthy relationship. Mm-hmm. And he thinks it's some type of an immigration issue. Oh, gosh. So they end up going on this like romantic date, and he proposes, and she freaks out.
After 1 day?
It was this after like 3 days,
oh, okay.
I think. Still not great.
I mean,
yeah, still not great. She says no. But then she changes her mind and says yes.
Gosh.
And she does kind of try to tell him, and he was just kind of like, whatever your big secret is, I don't care. And he rattled off a bunch of things, which I did appreciate. God, what were some of them? I do remember one comment he said was like, I don't care. You used to be a man, don't care. And I'm just like, for all the people who think, you know, transgender is something new, here's a movie from 40 years ago that talks about it and talks about it with acceptance. But anyway, they end up at some presidential dinner. I don't know. And Tom Hanks gets invited because I think he was going to be asked to be like a congressman or something. They kind of mentioned it in a speech, but it was kind of glossed over. And all of a sudden during this time, Daryl Hannah turns to Tom Hanks and is like, I'm ready to tell you my secret now. And he's like, sorry, what the fuck?
That's definitely the time to do it. Yep.
Yes. And meanwhile, our scientist guy is there, and he's got like a freaking hose hydrant system on his back running through his sleeve to like a hose, and the president's Secret Service think he's pulling a gun or that he has a bomb on his back.
Could just take a glass of water.
We're at a dinner. Right. There was a scene where he did throw 2 buckets of water on a woman who looked like her in New York City, and that didn't go well. But he gets knocked out by Secret Service because they're like, he's going to try and blow the place up because it looks like he's a bomb under his shirt.
Yeah.
So they take him out, whatever. You think it's all fine and dandy. But no, Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah go outside so she can tell him his big secret. And then she gets sprayed with water very publicly in front of a ton of press. She turns into a mermaid. Pictures go everywhere. Tom Hanks is basically like, whoa, how dare you not tell me?
What?
Yup. Real mad. Because he, whatever your secret is. And he like had started figuring out, like there was literally a scene like 5-10 minutes before this that he's talking to his brother and is like, don't you think there's something weird about it, man? Like the whole thing in the bath and like the moon cycle, and she's obsessed with this like mermaid statue in the park. And like it very much was like he was kind of picking it up. But so like he was figuring it out. But then he got all offended. It was like, how couldn't you tell me this? They both get taken in. Now there's an excellent scene in this that made the whole movie worth watching, to be honest, that's coming up. They take both Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah in to be tested. And they basically put Tom Hanks in a thing of water. He's just like standing in this tub of water, holding his like privates. And he's all hooked up. And they're like, well, sir, nothing has happened yet. You know, we really don't think he's actually a mermaid. And they're like, give him another hour. And yeah, he doesn't turn into one. So they let him go. Meanwhile, Daryl Hannah is in mermaid form, and he's like kind of scorning her, which is very painful. And the scientist from earlier now is so proud of himself because he caught the mermaid and he got to turn it over to his big boss guy. And they let Tom Hanks go, and main boss scientist tells Eugene Levy, like, yeah, so we're going to see if she does, you know, this, and this tonight. And then tomorrow we're going to do our autopsy. And he's like, whoa, wait, what? We're killing her? And he's like, well, yeah, we got to check all of her organs and we need to do the full thing. So he gets really upset and then ends up at the dentist.
What?
And then Tom Hanks shows up at the dentist, chases the hygienist out, and is like, you're going to help me get her back. I don't know why this had to be at a dentist's office. It was so random. Like, literally, I'm not kidding. Those were the clips. It went from you can't kill her. She's a beautiful mermaid, to getting a cleaning. And he's like telling the hygienist before Tom Hanks comes in. She's like, well, this might hurt a little bit. And he's like, that's fine. I deserve it. I deserve the pain. And then Tom Hanks busts in and is like, get out. And the hygienist is like, what? And he's like, just go. So Tom Hanks basically, you're going to help me get her back. And Eugene Levy is like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. And then they have like a weird little, Eugene Levy has a syringe and they're like chasing each other around this dentist's office. And it's very weird. And Eugene Levy eventually ends up stabbing himself in the thigh.
Oh, no.
And then is like, all right, we got to get her out of there. Which felt really dramatic. So Eugene Levy knew that there were some Swedish scientists coming in. Now this for the next like 5 minutes was my favorite part of the movie. And I just loved it so much. So Eugene Levy's like, listen, you and your brother are going to pretend to be those two Swedish scientists, and I'm going to escort you in. And they're like, yep, this sounds great. What could go wrong? So Eugene Levy, they walk in, and they're like government officials guarding the doors, okay? There's like Navy people, like the National Guard is there. Like, this is intense, okay? People with guns are having to get past these checkpoints. And Eugene Levy's being pretty chill. And they're like, oh, we didn't think the Swedish scientists were coming until tomorrow. And with the other scientists, oh, well, they got in early, no big deal. And for the most part, they're able to just kind of like, oh, yeah, kind of fake their way through. Until they get to one guy who's like, oh, my grandparents were Swedish, and starts asking them questions in Swedish. And so Tom Hanks is like, oh, fuck, like we're in trouble. And the Swedish guard is like, this isn't right. They're not responding. Because at first he asks in Swedish, hello, welcome to America. How are you? And they both just, yeah, sure. Yeah. And he's, okay, that's weird. And then he goes, so what brings you to America, or something like that? Or how are you enjoying America? And John Caddy goes up to him and in perfect Swedish says, I have a 10-inch long penis. And the Swedish guard just starts laughing and pats him on the back and lets them through. And so Tom Hanks is like, what the hell did you say? How did you know Swedish? No. And he goes, well, you see, a lot of my porny magazines come from Sweden, and a lot of the videos I watch and eventually start picking up on it.
Oh my God.
I laughed out loud. I'm not going to lie. It's like a 5-year-old penis joke, but I thought it was hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
So they then come flying out. They go flying back out of they go talk to Daryl Hannah. And then all of a sudden they come flying out, and they're blatantly Tom Hanks and Eugene Levy carrying Daryl Hannah wrapped up in a bunch of sheets. But they're trying to say it's John Caddy. Now the problem is John Caddy's like 3 Daryl Hannahs. Mm-hmm. But the guards don't question it. And they're like, man, close down the unit. She's got laser eyes. She got him. We got to get him out of here. Shut down the whole unit. And the guy's like, oh my God, okay, I will. Not questioning any of this. And so he shuts it all down. Tom Hanks, Eugene Levy get Daryl Hannah to the car. They unwrap her. They take off for the ocean because it's been almost a week and she's getting sick because she hasn't been in the ocean in so long.
The ocean's yelling at her.
I know. It kind of gave Siren vibes. And I'm like, don't bring me back to this. One day I'll give a positive review about something. And then we flash to my next favorite scene, which, Tom Hanks is driving the car. Of course, there's like a New York traffic jam, so they have to get out and run.
Okay, wait. I have to back up. What happened to John Caddy?
They just left him there.
They just left him there?
Yes. But thank you. Yeah. Because this takes me to my second and also favorite scene, and that made the whole movie worth it. The authorities, the actual Swedish scientists show up with the main guy, and all the guards are like, oh, fuck, we've been duped. So they take off for the tank, and John Caddy is sitting on top of the tank, dangling his feet in the water with a fucking fishing rod. I was like, hey, gentlemen, how's it going? Just cool as a cucumber. You're under arrest. And he just starts laughing and lights up the stogie and starts smoking a cigar. What? I don't know.
He doesn't even care.
He gives 0 fucks. He's literally like chuckling the whole time. Like the entire National Guard is there. Like, we're going to take you out. And he's just like, whatever. This is a great Tuesday. So they literally just left him to get arrested or whatever. They're like, good luck, my dude.
Right? It's like, that's your bro.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was a bro. Like all of his shit that he did in the first half of the movie, all of the perviness, I'm like, in that scene, John Caddy, you just made up for it with your 10-inch penis and your fishing rod. So he quickly became my saving grace and my favorite part of this whole movie. But we'll flash back to our main characters. Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah take off running for the dock, and she has to get in the water, and the helicopters are coming for them, and these armed guards are running down the dock, and she's like, I'll never be able to visit you again because they're going to look for me. And he's like, no, you'll have to stay away forever. And they kiss, and then she's like, but you could come with me. And he's like, what? Yeah, and she's like, well, you were safe under the water when you were a little boy. And he was like, oh, it was you. And she's like, yeah.
How old is she?
Well, she was young when she helped save him. Yeah, she was also like 8. Yeah.
Oh.
They don't get into the details of
age.
lifespan, but they were normal ages both times, which was kind of nice. It was cute. But she's like, you were safe under the water because you were with me. You could breathe under the water. It was fine. We could do that. And he's like, that'd be great. And then I can come back and visit John Caddy on Christmas. And she's like, oh no, once you're in, you can't ever go back. I know. And so he's like, I can't do it. And she's like, that's okay. I understand. And she jumps in the water and takes off swimming. And now this is where I get confused. Because if they would have ended it right there, I would have been like, that was nice. They cared more about each other to be happy. And it made somewhat sense. But there's this part where she's like waving at him. And this chopper is like getting closer to her and blowing out the water. And all of a sudden he just starts screaming her name. And it's just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to go with her. And just after saying he wouldn't, like it was like 2 minutes later, jumps in the water, takes off swimming for her, but wait, he can't swim, he starts drowning. She goes over, kisses him. Suddenly he can breathe underwater. Keep in mind, he's still in like a half suit and like dress shoes this entire time. There's no tail, there's no transformation. He is in wet clothes and regular shoes. Then there's an underwater battle because like the army scuba team shows up.
What? I was not prepared to hear Army scuba team.
I wasn't either, but yeah, somehow these scuba guys jumped in and were like, we're going to take him down. I don't know. They didn't actually say that, but they were like trying to grab her. And she's...
We're going to take him down through the little breathing pipe.
That was beautiful. Yeah, they didn't say that, but they did now. That's canon in my head. And, you know, she's beating him with her tail, and Tom Hanks is, like, ripping out their rebreathers and shit.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know if they're called rebreathers. Is that just in Spy
no
Kids?
Idea. Probably.
He's filling out their mouthpiece that helps him breathe. I don't know scuba.
The oxygen mask.
Yeah, he's doing shit, so it's not going well for them. And then they just swim away, holding hands. And credits roll, and that's how it ends.
By John Caddy. I'm concerned for him.
I know. The whole time, I'm like, but where is John Caddy? And like,
Justice for John Caddy,
yes,
man.
I know. So I was here. I'm gonna pull up a picture of John Caddy because I feel like you've probably seen him at some point.
I haven't seen any of the Lampoon stuff though.
Okay, like that's him in Cool Runnings.
Oh, I know him.
Yes.
No, that's him in
Oh, is it not him in Cool Runnings?
Oh gosh.
Home Alone. Sorry. Yes, that was him in Home Alone.
Yeah. They were the polka band.
Yes.
In the van.
Yes. Little did I know that's what would have gotten it for you.
That's where I know it.
He was also in, I don't know if you've seen Plane, Trains, and Automobiles.
No.
Okay, that was Steve Martin.
Steve Martin.
We were talking about him on lunch. So yeah, he's just a sweet bean. I don't know. Maybe he was problematic, but
I don't know.
I don't either.
Yeah.
But yeah, so justice for him because he made like the entire movie worth it and realistic. And don't get me wrong, Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah were great in it. I still genuinely enjoyed the movie.
Good.
It was an 80s movie though. You know, it was fine. It was cheesy. The girl needed to be saved and didn't have a lot for personality. But it wasn't as bad as some movies. Like the Indiana Jones, there's one Indiana Jones movie that's like, oh my God, all she did was flail around the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. The screaming, the manic screaming. I don't understand.
There's one where she's about to be thrown in a lava pit, and it's my personal favorite.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, and they're literally like, all right, we're going to drag her. And it's like one dude like grabs her by the arm, and she just starts like, ah! And like flailing her arms around, but actively walking towards the lava pit. Yeah, and I'm like, girl, sit down.
Right?
And like
use dead weight.
Kick him. I don't something.
Bite him.
Yeah. So it wasn't like that level of bad feminism in the 80s.
Right.
I did really enjoy her hair, by the way. It was perfectly huge and crimped.
That's the only thing I think I really remember from that movie is the crimped blonde hair.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I had to crimp my hair when I was in Footloose in high school. As someone with a lot of hair, that takes a long-ass time. So props to my gals who did that in the 80s.
So are you going to give movies a 5-star rating?
Oh,
Like
I
1 through
could.
5?
I guess I hadn't. I would give this like a solid 3.
Okay.
Yeah, like it wasn't earth-shattering, but I enjoyed it. Like a 3's not a bad rating.
No, it's like this is
That was fine. Yeah, if it pops up, it's on Disney Plus for free. Like, hell's yeah, go watch it. Would I pay money for it? Probably not. But it was cute. And again, honestly, John Caddy made it worth it for just those 2 amazing scenes at the end. So, yeah, that was my first mermaid movie I've covered.
Ooh.
Eventually, I do have another mermaid book I'm going to cover.
Yes.
I know I mentioned it to you.
Yes.
But I'm going to eventually be covering Aquamarine by Alice Hoffman because, yes, it's a book.
Right, I didn't know that either.
Me either.
I'm
so
excited because I have that movie. Do I have that movie?
I think I might have that movie.
Ooh.
One of us probably does.
Yes.
So we'll have to do a movie night after we read the book.
Yes.
So I don't have it yet. I can't find it anywhere on like Libby, so I'm gonna have to order it.
Sure.
But eventually I will be covering that. So in the next handful of episodes, look out for that one if you want to read along. But yeah, that's all I have for my first mermaid movie, Splash, 1984.
I have one that I would like you to see too.
What you got?
It's
my list.
it's The Little Mermaid, but it's done by Fairy Tale Theater.
Oh, okay.
I have it on DVD.
Is it the musical?
No.
Oh, because I
It's
have
not.
seen the musical.
The musical's fun, but no, it's like these famous actors all got together and like joined this Fairy Tale Theater thing for different shows. I haven't seen it, but Robin Williams was in Princess and the Frog. Matthew Broderick is in the Cinderella.
Oh my gosh.
And I have Cinderella, Little Mermaid, 12 Dancing Princesses, and the Princess and the Pea. And
Okay.
they're fun. They're fun. It's the closest I've seen to the original Little Mermaid story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm gonna let you borrow that and see what you think.
Deal. I'm totally down for this.
Definitely a filmed stage production.
That's fine. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Because I did see The Little Mermaid, the musical, because my friend Greta was in it.
Aw.
When we were in college, she was like home for a summer and did it through her like community theater.
Nice.
And it was so cute. And Scuttle had a great song. And Eric has one of the most just just tenor men singing about a woman, just songs. Oh my
good.
God.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that song, but
I don't. I can't picture it right now, but I remember really liking the musical. It's one of the first musicals I remember seeing, like as a
Okay.
child on stage. So yeah.
Interesting. Because I didn't see it until I would have been, it was right before my sophomore year of college. And I took my great aunt to it and we had a ton of fun.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and I downloaded like the entire soundtrack and I still listen to it sometimes. So,
good.
but okay, I'm excited to see the Fairy Tale Theater, you said, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we don't have the results yet from
our poll?
Yeah. So do you want to just do our old one or do you want to just do both?
Okay, so cover your necks and watch your tails.
Keep thirsty and stay wet.
Obscurantism and obfuscation.
Orally observed, gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Gentle listener,
Obviated objects of oblivion,
Obambulating about.
offered unto you
Offered unto you.
offered unto you
In the Tapestry Radio Network.
Tapestryradio.org.
from our fancy to yours.